So why did Forbes choose to focus on Liberia? There are a lot of reasons. First, you have to look at the history. Liberia was founded by freed U.S. slaves. And when you travel around Liberia, you recognize that America is everywhere. I mean, the flag is a star and stripes. The currency is the U.S. dollar. And there are places like Maryland and Virginia and Bunker Hill. Tensions between the Amero-Liberians, the settlers from America, and the natives there were brewing for over 150 years and exploded over the last 3 decades into one of the worst civil wars in world history. You had 250,000 people die, and that's out of a population of less than 4 million people. So this is a country that needs our help with American ties, and they finally have a government that's worthy of it, and that women played a big role in stopping the Civil War. And now we have the first democratically elected woman president in the history of Africa, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, a Nobel Peace Prize winner, who is trying to use capitalism in the private sector, entrepreneurship, and philanthropy can solve the problems. That aid won't just solve the problem, it will just delay the solutions. And she realizes that it's business and market-based solutions that are going to be the solutions. The first thing we did when we got to Monrovia was to look at that history. We went to the Ducor Hotel, which has to be one of the most haunting sites on the entire continent. This, at one time, was the nicest hotel in West Africa. It's now a shell. It is literally a ghost hotel. And while we were there, we met with the peace women of Liberia, including Mother Mary Brownell, who many think should have won the Nobel Peace Prize herself.
Whatever walks of life, we did not think about religious background, ethnic background, social status in society, nothing. Just so you want a peaceful Liberia, come on board. Let's fight for peace. People thought we were crazy. The guns are flying, you do not know how to even hold a gun. But we had that intuition. We the women, we will make a difference.
These are the women who stopped the Civil War. They raised money and they had protests. There was nonviolent protests. They had sex strikes. They had sit-ins. And they would not stop until the warlords came to their senses. And it was the women who made peace. We heard their first-hand stories. We heard the children of these women singing. It was very inspirational. From there we went down to West Point, which is the biggest slum in Liberia, in Monrovia. 75,000 people with no running water, no electricity, no sanitation, living just basically subsistence lives. And yet you also see hope. You see entrepreneurial solutions there. But to see to the degree which people in the 21st century were living, it couldn't help but shock us. Our second day in Liberia was spent going into the rainforest. We actually went to a town called Zigbe that had almost no contact ever with the West. This is a town where the average life expectancy of the people there is 29 years old. In the last 2 years, 10 babies, infants, and children under 5 have died. And the reason they're dying is because of lack of access to health care. A fever can kill you when you live a 22-hour walk from the nearest health care. We walked a little bit into the jungle to understand what it was like to have to walk 22 hours. I mean, we just walked 20 minutes, much less 22 hours to get health care. We heard from a woman named Rose, who had a daughter named Blessing, who was 5 months old, who died on that path. And we learned how that can be solved. We had Dr. Raj Punjabi with us, who runs Last Mile Health. He's a native Liberian who now has come back to his native land to try to provide solutions for these rural people by hiring, through jobs, by hiring local villagers to serve as kind of what he calls frontline health workers, which are just giving basic medicine, basic immunizations. Both sides, it was an incredibly moving experience in that I don't think they'd ever seen anything like us, and we'd certainly never seen anything like them. And just like we were hoping to bring hope and health to them, I think they brought a lot of hope and optimism to us. Our final day in Liberia, we had the first ever Liberian entrepreneurial exchange in that we had 400 entrepreneurs from Liberia, the hope and the future of Liberia. We had panels with Americans and Liberians talking about how to raise money, how to grow a business. And then we just networked and we met people and we talked and we heard ideas. And we also had a Shark Tank kind of competition where we had the top entrepreneurs in Liberia pitch their ideas, and we tried to listen about and hear whether anywhere investable. And we also tried to give them advice as they try to lead their country forward. Net, I think everyone who went found it a very positive and inspiring trip. We raised a good amount of money for the various causes. I mean, Last Mile Health, several of the attendees have begun giving significant money to Last Mile Health. So many more villages will now get health care because of this trip. With Building Markets, another social startup we mentored with Scott Gilmore and Jennifer Holt as the social entrepreneurs there. They helped us put on the entrepreneurial exchange. They're in the process, coming out of the summit, of raising between $50 and $75 million to invest in frontier markets like Liberia. So there are going to be hundreds and hundreds of Liberian entrepreneurs who are funded because of this initiative. So as much as there was direct help, I think the legacy of this trip also is the impression that the Liberians left with us, that we were able to carry back to the United States. And hopefully that creates more good for the world going forward.